All right, a few more questions here. I'm going to try to answer briefly. Sorry, my dogs are playing in the background. So this is going to be about money and taxes, making more money and taxes and bartering. So the question is should I partner with someone? I don't recommend partnering with someone in a business. I like the word collaboration. So I really feel like one person should be the owner of the business, and you should pay the other person to do the business and define their work carefully. If they want to collaborate with you, then I would highly recommend you look at each person having their own business that works together. That's what Rena and I have done for years. We did have a business together, a small business for a while, and we got along fine, but it was a lot of hassle for both of us to keep up with. She was more the brains behind it. At the time, I had a studio and I had the funds to back it. But I often felt guilty because beyond giving contacts and, beyond sharing contacts and space and funding it, I really didn't do much. I mean, my name, it gave credibility and things like that, but it became more of a hassle, and with the accountant, it especially became a hassle. So another way I collab is a teacher and I would share a space, and I would pay rent for one day and she would pay rent for one day. She also had classes at her place. So what we would do is we would pay our own rent. Our students would pay for the classes they took, and we didn't let them group them and make them confusing. We just said, you got to pay for the classes you take. And they could buy a package with her or a package with me, but they couldn't switch. And so I know that sounds like a pain in the butt, but it worked for us. And then I could go and take her classes for free, and she could take my classes for free. We recommended each other. We worked together. We created a Facebook page together called the Hot Springs Cooperative, Yoga Cooperative. And that worked super well, and it still does to this day. If she needs a sub for a while, I subbed for her when I was still working in the public market. I'm not anymore, but it just worked out really well. And we had a deal where we would pay each other $35 if we subbed for each other. So yeah, I mean, there are different ways to partner, but I do not recommend going into business with someone where you're both on all the books, because there's too much room for disagreement. I come from a family of business owners, and I've seen this go south so many times. Bartering works great. I have done it quite a lot. Be mindful that there could be some tax implications there, and that's all I'm really going to say about that. I'm not an accountant. You need to address with the accountant, but I barter all the time. I barter, like I might get massages or facials or have someone mow my yard for tuition. I don't advertise that I barter because I would be barter. I have gotten to a point sometimes where I've had to stop bartering because so many people wanted to barter that I had to pay the bills. So I love bartering. You might barter for space. You might use their space in turn for them and maybe their daughter or husband to come and take classes. There are all kinds of ways to barter, and I love it, but don't barter so much that you can't pay your bills. Should I use yoga software? I never have. I am a believer in keeping things simple, but if you own a yoga studio, it seems like everyone is on yoga software now, and I'm going to be honest with you, it drives me crazy. I think it's complicated, but I'm not a person who likes to be tied to my phone or a computer or have to have an app. I know a lot of people don't think twice about this, but I guess I'm old school. I mean, it's not something that I like. I want to be able to go to a website and see your classes and see what you offer and see your teachers. I don't want to have to use a freaking app to find out what your class schedule is. I had Quicken and accounting software when I had my business. I absolutely hated it. It was too difficult for me. I got rooked into it, and it was easier for me to do things on hand, but I am really good with money. In my mind, I'm really good with using a calculator and all that. So it depends on you. Accountant and taxes. And so I do use an accountant. I did TurboTax for years, and that worked fantastic. And I itemized everything. All year I kept things in a little file. So all my expenses, I used one account for business. if you're not good with credit cards, don't use them. But I used one account for business, and I used one credit card that all my business expenses went on. That way I could keep up with everything that was business separate from my personal. I did not mix personal and business. Sometimes you can't help it, and that's for another story. But you want to keep everything separate. That way you can itemize at the end of the year. Once it gets to be a lot of trouble, you're going to spend between $50 and $150 a month on an accountant to do your books, depending on how much you have them do. You guys, I am running out of time, so I'm going to do a part 3 to this, but on how to make more money. But on taxes, yes, you need to keep up with all of your expenses, your mileage, your phone, your office expenses, everything. And if you itemize and do your taxes, that's how you do that every year. Again, this is in my book. Thank you.